this is a great story because a lot of parents sometimes want to decide in that middle school years, like, the kids are so schooled, but they're thinking about taking their kids out to homeschool. And there's that like worry of how will my kids do?
Oh, for us, it's been actually so much of a blessing to be so much more a part of their life during these years, in middle school now as they approach and they start and they're in middle school, because we're really present for to have all the conversations that it would just be so easy for them to be having with kids in school, and possibly not necessarily the right voices in their ears or the right advice. And really we're around to have these conversations. When they have conversations with friends, they just spend so much time with us that they feel comfortable, and they come to us with questions, and it's been a blessing for
Mm.
us, honestly. In this age, we've just loved it.
And your husband's always been on board also too, because I know there's always that, some it takes a while and some are on board right away.
For the most part, yes, I would say at first he was like, let's see, let's see how it goes. And then we did do we chose to do standardized testing. I think probably for my own sanity. And when we started to see really how well they were progressing, um, there was no question for him. And yeah, I think at first there was always the question in his mind, they're doing this, we're doing this temporarily for COVID. And then we're going to go back. And I remember at some point we sat down and we had the conversation, and he says, what, are they going to go back? What about middle school? What about high school? And I said, well, I've researched it, and there's so many resources out there, so many curriculum, so many options for co-ops and for online courses. If I feel, it's too deep for me, particular subject or anything, there really is so much that we can do. And he said, no, then we're all in. And he's been the number one supporter. Thankfully, I think it would have been a lot harder for me
Yeah, it
had
might be a
that not
little
been the
harder.
case.
I think it is very helpful when both parents are on the same page and working together for that. Um, I like that you mentioned structure, the word structure, because I know like in homeschooling, once like you enter this world, it's like a whole world, and there's like families that are like don't like the whole structure, and then like the flexibility, and but there's also ways of having structure and flexibility, and then there's like obviously then the other, there's different like directions. But I know you're really good with like structure as well, and I guess a little bit of flexibility. So, how do you handle that structure? How do you keep your structure for like moms that are like, no, but I couldn't homeschool because I need structure, you know?
Right, right. Yeah, no, definitely. And I think at first, I very much wanted to recreate what was in the classroom at home.
Mhm.
And at that time, I had a toddler, and I realized very quickly that that was not
Yeah.
always possible. Um, sometimes you have sleepless nights, or um, whatever the situation is. There seems to always be something happening to kind of throw off our schedule. But one of the things that has helped me tremendously is that every week I sit down and I make lesson plans for each child, with just kind of the list. These are the subjects. This is what we want to get done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then I use an O. It's funny. Instead of going through the trouble of doing a format, I use a little O next to whatever it is I'm writing. And I we check it off every day. And that's created a really nice system. Before I did that, it was very easy for us to drop particular subjects or forget about certain things. I
Mhm.
mean, even for me, it was just too much for me to remember from one day to the next. I wasn't used to doing it. There was so many little details. If we, I don't know, just to give an example with math, I was used to teaching the upper grades, where they weren't doing fact practice. And my kids were, when we started homeschooling, and well, and still now, are at the age where they have to do fact practice plus whatever they were learning. Um, and it was so easy for me to just forget if I didn't have it listed out. Um, Forget that they had to do fact practice. They just would do whatever the lesson was. And then it was, oh gosh, yeah, we haven't practiced this in a
Yeah.
while. And so the lesson plans have really helped to keep the structure and my own sanity and my memory tremendously. That's been a huge help. That's been a something that, yeah, I once I started, I have not gone away from.
Yeah, I really like having also the lesson plan because even though it's flexible, you can still like see where you're at, how's it going.
Absolutely. And with Ellie, like with my youngest, it's really very simple. It's really just, you know, what are we doing for math? We're doing workbook, right? And I'll just write workbook every day. I won't be specific. And I'm really flexible with her because since as they're when they're younger, you have a little bit more leeway,
Mhm.
right? So let's say she's inspired today and she wants to do 2 pages of math. We'll do 2 pages of math. And then the next day, we'll do something fun, or we'll do a little extra reading, or we'll say, hey, you can take the day off because we did a little extra math yesterday and you can go play with your little dolls or whatever she wants to play with. And
Mhm.
then as they've gotten older, the older ones have specific page numbers or specific lessons
Mhm.
that they have to get to, and they've actually started to go through them on their own,
Mhm.
and they know what to check off, and they've even started to check some of their work on their own if it's like homework type work, workbook work. They can work and check their answers and then come to me and say, hey, I got everything right, or I got stuck here, can you help me? And it's really helped also get them independent and then keep it simple when they're little. But it's really helped tremendously. I mean, that's been a huge help for us with the structure.
Yeah, I know like when I was talking to a friend of ours about homeschooling and the older ones, she mentioned like that after a while they don't really ask for your help. So I'm guessing like it's like in that smaller season that they're so needy of you to be there and but supposedly it gets a little smoother because they become independent and then they're not all like needing you at the same time, right? For work. Does that happen
Absolutely.
to you? Like they don't really need you anymore as much?
Yes, and it also depends on the child. So for us, we've seen that uh, some of my some of my kids need me present a little more for
Mhm.
some subjects than others.
Mhm.
Um, like my middle one is very independent. She likes to do things on her own. I don't have to check on her very often. Really just how's it going? She can tell me it's going well, or she'll tell me I'm stuck on math, but she really kind of wants to figure it out on her own. Whereas my son, the oldest one, I have to be checking in a little more. Hey, how's it going? How long have you been working on math? Let's move on to the next thing. So it really just depends on the even though he's the oldest, he needs me to help him with the time management a little more. And then the youngest one, yeah, that's like every single subject I've got to be there with her.
Mhm.
When the other two were a lot younger, I found that doing some of the subjects family style,
Mhm.
whatever we could, made things so much simpler for me than trying to cover first grade science and then second grade science and then third grade science and then preschool science. It was just too much. So we found that whatever subjects we could do all together, whether it was religion or it was yeah, history, whatever it was that we could do together, reading.
Mhm.
They were so close in age that even the reading, it got to a point that they could understand the same stories together. We could do reading comprehension there. I took advantage of that and really honed in on that, and it was a huge help.
Yeah.
And even the little one would sit around and listen to the stories that the other ones were doing. So it was really nice to be able to do that. And it really made for some rich conversations as a family because what one of them maybe didn't think of, the other one did.
Mhm.
Um, and it really was an awesome experience to do that with them as they were younger. And then as they've gotten more independent and they've gotten older, now they're starting to specialize and
Oh,
get into things at their individual levels and with their individual strengths. And that's been nice to see also.
oh, that's really sweet. Because I feel like I'm entering now that stage of like looking for things that we can all do together, curriculum, like for certain stuff, the extra stuff, do it
Yes,
together so that it doesn't become like so many things to do individually, right? Just the most important ones and the core curriculum.
exactly.
So, oh my goodness, but that's awesome, Vanessa. And then something I really wanted to talk to you about because I feel like this is a very interesting topic because, when families decide to homeschool, they homeschool for, they discern to homeschool for different reasons. Some of them is faith, some of them is flexibility, freedom to, or explore the children's passions, whatever it is in the family, in the parents' hearts. But one of them is also traveling. I feel like there's a lot of homeschool traveling families. So I love that you're like in your RVs and you can like tell us a little bit about how homeschool gives this opportunity of like having these experiences and moving around maybe with your family in different ways.
Definitely. So for us, you know, so many of the things that you mentioned play a role in why we've chosen to homeschool, why we've chosen to continue to homeschool. Um, and I wouldn't say that traveling is at the top of the list for us, faith for sure.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, customizing the education to each of them, us being present in for each of them. But the flexibility, um, hands down, is one of the greatest benefits that we personally have seen and have experienced with the homeschooling. We made the decision to homeschool. At the time, we made the decision for me to give up my job. I was teaching, and I couldn't continue to teach. So we made the decision that we were going to cut that salary. Um, and I mean, little by little, with the phases that I had to give up, from engineering to then teaching to then nothing. It was um, quite a sacrifice, to
Mhm.
do that financially for us. And it wasn't 2 weeks after we made the decision and we said, well, if we have to eat peanut butter sandwiches or rice and beans for an entire year, that's what it's going to be. And, the Lord will give us a way and we'll figure this out together. But we thought it was worth the sacrifice that first year. And it wasn't 2 weeks that we made that decision that Hansel had got a call to transfer down to the Florida Keys,
Mhm.
which is where we had an RV. So we had a weekend RV here, that we love the Keys. We would come here on the weekends, and we said, well, we just made this decision to homeschool. This is the perfect opportunity. And how great is the Lord that in that opportunity, he also made up the salary that I had lost.
Mhm.
Um, so it was no questions asked. Let's do this. This is going to be an adventure. We'll still have the house, but we're going to take this, homeschooling adventure to the Keys in the RV. So we are in the RV during the week, pretty much. And then some weekends we stay down here just to kind of enjoy because it's really nice down here. And then some weekends we head up to Miami. And what that means is that while we are here, it's a little bit tighter a space. It's an RV. It's not a house. Um, it's a tow behind RV. There's no such thing as a room. It's like a curtain that divides, a
Mhm.
bed space and then another bed space and the bunk room and a small table, a small kitchen. But it's provided so much adventure. For the kids, it's like we're on a big camping trip all the time. And there's just enough space for us to be able to enjoy it. And what that's provided is so much more outdoor time for us than we could have had at home. Um, so many activities that we've been able to do outdoors, In the RV, you get a little bit of cabin fever, and it's let's go to the beach. We're gonna grab your books, everybody, and we're gonna go do phonics in front of the ocean. And literally, I've got pictures of us sitting in the sand, everybody with toes in the air, doing phonics, every side by side, and me making sure everybody's working on the right pages and scoop some sand off of your books. Sometimes it's, hey, we're gonna just go for a ride because everybody, or go for a walk outside because it's tight space and sometimes we need to breathe a little. So we can go do that so much easier here than we do at home. We have a pool here. We have a lot of amenities here that we don't have at home.
Yeah.
That even though we're in an RV, it's provided so many more activities outdoors than we would have had the opportunity to
And the
enjoy
funny
at
thing is, I've been to your home and your backyard is like beautiful.
home. Thank you.
Plenty of
Thank you.
outdoor space.
Yes. And even like that, the kids, I guess it's the grass is always greener, right? They'll
Yes.
enjoy it for a little bit, and
Mhm.
then it's, oh, we just want to go just in the backyard. Oh, they get
Mhm.
tired of it. But here there's really no getting tired of it because there's
It's
just so much to do.
experience, right?
Yes. And then the other thing that we've been able to do is take big trips. And also, well, I mean, big trips in terms of the amount of time we've been able to take, because Hatzel's work has allowed for that. He's got vacation accrued, and he's been able to take 3 and 4 week vacation that had I been working, had the kids been in school, wouldn't have been possible during the school year when everything is a lot calmer, and we've been able to enjoy these experiences during times that, had they been in brick and mortar school, had I been working, wouldn't, or working out of the house. So I am working now, but I'm working remotely from the house,
Mhm.
part-time. But had I been working, either at the school or in engineering, either way, these kinds of vacations wouldn't have been possible. And it's made for so much richness. I mean, the year that we learned American history, we were able to take an RV trip across the West. We went out to the Grand Canyon. We went to see Yellowstone. We were able to stop at all these sites that the kids had learned about. Even the little one was doing maps of the US, little sticker maps, where she was seeing all the states we were going to. I had the older two, every time we drove through a state, even if it was a weekend trip or a week trip to another state for something. It was, hey, I want you guys to get me some facts on this state. So we're gonna pull from the library some books, and we're gonna take them with us, and we're gonna learn about the state we're gonna visit. We're gonna learn about the history. We're gonna learn about the music, the culture. Um, there's the traveling has just been like a richness,
Mm.
of bringing to life all of the things that we've been learning. And instead of seeing it as we're taking, the way I would before, because this is how I used to look at it before when the kids were in school, it's a vacation. It's turn off the brain and we're just going to go enjoy, right?
Mhm.
Now
Away from
we look
everything.
at it as an adventure and another learning experience, a rich learning experience. And I'm always like looking for, what kind of vacation are we taking? If we're going somewhere that has a really nice yard or some garden space, let's look at what we can learn about botany, right? Or if we're going to a national park, let's look at what kind of animals they have. If we're going somewhere that I can throw a big blanket out on the yard and we can make slime, or we can paint, all of us, and kind of take advantage and do the artworks that sometimes at home I don't want to make the mess,
Yeah,
or I
you
don't
don't
have
want to
the
get
time to
paint
do.
everywhere.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
exactly. I'll say, well, we're going to do that on vacation. And it's really been so awesome to be able to do that and kind of continue our homeschooling, continue our learning, and really enjoy the richness in that, instead of feeling like it's learn, 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 learn in school, and then I need a break from that. It's been the opposite of that. It's been, we're going on vacation. What can we learn? What can we enjoy on this vacation that can add to the richness of our homeschool and our family? And it's been such a wonderful experience to have that flexibility and to be able to bring that just extra viewpoint that I didn't have before.
That's so
Um,
beautiful because I feel like it's like your family, you when you decide to homeschool, like it's not like all homeschoolers are the same. Like every family, homeschool family is unique and creates like their family culture, you know. So for you guys, it's that, you know, and then that's
Definitely.
very nice. It's beautiful because I know like for some it might be the crafts and you know the
Definitely.
art, or for you guys it's this outdoors traveling and I think like also like it's like you can go on those vacations also and you can schedule that time. It's not like it's not scheduled, like you're also scheduling it part of your curriculum, right?
Exactly.
But you can take it whenever you guys is best for you guys.
Exactly.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. I've actually, the kids know that there's like certain books that we don't do the rest of the year, but they
Mhm.
take with them on their they're like vacation books, like
Vacation.
special vocabulary books and handwriting books and nature journals and stuff that it's like a little packet, a little book bag that's packed, and we're like, okay, it's vacation books, and those are the ones that go with us.
Yeah.
Um, so
And it's
it's
funny because at the beginning, when I started homeschooling, I was like, I don't know if it's because I'm still like in that beginning or with still with littles and everything. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna homeschool and I'm gonna like take a break in summer. And this is when I'm gonna take a break when everybody else is taking a break. So like it kind of matches like the school year. That's
I
how
can
it started off, right?
totally
And
relate.
the
Same
last
here.
2 years has been like, no, schooling all year. And I'll just take a break when I feel like, okay, now we can take a break and we're taking a break, right?
Exactly.
But in
One of
reality,
the
it
things,
doesn't feel
yeah,
bad because it's schooling is not the same as as it's visioned in school, right? In the big school.
right. What I have found is it is very different. And you know, sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge, especially when, we're getting together with cousins or
Yeah.
with family that have or friends that are in the school system, that are used to having, the summers off, and we're still working through things, or we've decided to continue doing some kind of online class or whatever it is that we're doing during the summer. But
How do you
what I have
handle that? Because
found
that
is
is,
that
mhm.
it's just it's worked out so nicely to be able to do school year round, um for us. At first it was like, okay, we're going to take the summers off, but then I realized really quickly that the summers here are extremely hot, and there's only so much time you can spend outside before we're like, okay, we need to get into the air
Get back
conditioning
into.
again, and then do it again tomorrow, and then do it again tomorrow. That it was like we're not enjoying really the time outside as much in the summer as we would be a little bit further in the fall when everybody starts school again, for example.
Mm,
And with the flexibility of homeschool, we can do that. We can say, we'll take maybe some time off if we have someone visiting or
mm,
something like that. But we'll just keep working through our stuff the rest of the year. And I
mm,
have found that from the experience of teaching in the classroom and now, teaching with the homeschooling, that we do cover way more, doing it that way,
mm,
than we would have time to teach in the classroom,
mm,
or even in online classes when you're just doing, even if we have little breaks here and there, when everybody needs a break and we say, okay, we're gonna take a break from math and English this week because everybody's about at up to here with it,
yeah.
or mom needs a timeout, right? I need a mental break, and
Mm,
we're just going to focus on our projects, and we're going to do these arts and crafts things that we haven't had time for the rest of the year, and then we'll jump back into it the other
mm,
week. And what I found is that kind of breaks stuff up. It breaks up the monotony and the the constant work, but it still provides just constant growth. um and we're able to cover so much, through the year. It's really been enlightening for me to realize how much we can really get